5 p.m. and I'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge. Commissioner Waldridge. Commissioner Tippett.
Here. Here.
Okay. Commissioner Wisman.
Present.
Commissioner Sauer.
I'm right here.
Mayor May.
I am here, present. We have a quorum, and before we start, I just want to give a special mention that we lost our one of our favorite city employees, certainly one of my favorite of all time, Shirley Brown. I'm sure you all knew that. I had an opportunity to go with Jenny to the visitation and talk to her family to express our profound sadness on her loss and to remind them how much she did for our community over the years. And she was very special to all of us that got to work with her. And we just want to say again to her family and loved ones that she's in our thoughts and prayers, and so are they, for peace and comfort as they deal with this loss. She was very special, and those of you that didn't get to know her and work with her, I'm sure that you will join me in saying how much you do appreciate her past service to all of us. So moving forward,
Mayor,
Commissioner Sauer. Yes.
well said, Mayor. Another thing about her, she was so reliable. If she said it was a certain way, by golly, it was a certain way. She knew the rules. She knew the procedure. She was always such a very thorough employee in making sure that there were no loose ends and you could rely on what she said.
Absolutely. Well taken. Thank you. You were mayor when she served too, so you got to serve with her back then too. As did your father. Let's see. First item would be a presentation by Sharon Jackson, the chair of the Frankfort County Planning Commission. This will be on the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. And we know that Mr. Jackson said it would only be 30 seconds or less. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I like that, Mayor.
We're glad that you're here. Thank you for your service on the Planning Commission. We do appreciate that very much so.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon to the city commissioners, and thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak with you for just a moment. What I would like to do on behalf of the Planning Commission is to give you a very broad and quick update on what we're doing and ask your support on a particular matter. We sent each of you a letter on September 11th, laying out, if you will, the concerns or updates that we have. And what I will do is probably present to you at 20,000 feet and stand for question if necessary on the matter. The Planning Commission at its last meeting voted to begin the process of the update of the comprehensive plan. This comprehensive plan was developed almost 20 years ago in terms of its basic data, and then we recommissioned it twice over. And so now, 20 years later, we need to update the basic data upon which it is based, as well as to have it reflect the input of our local community in terms of their vision going into the future. We established a steering committee consisting of 7 individuals, 5 planning commissioners, and we have 2 slots, one for a member of fiscal court and one for a member of the city commission identified and elected by the city commission to serve. The individual identified and elected by the fiscal court to serve is Mr. J.W. Blackburn. I don't know how many of you know Mr. Blackburn and et cetera, but we believe that he'll be a good person from fiscal court to work with. We are requesting that the city commission identify and appoint a member from among its membership to serve on the steering committee. The steering committee very quickly will have responsibility for working with planning commissioners who are appointed to the steering committee to develop a RFP, to hire, if you will, a consulting firm to assist with and take the lead on developing the comprehensive plan, and to oversee the information or presentations and input from the community to ensure that we have presented a platform that allow us to receive information from the general public in our community as it relates to what we do in terms of the comprehensive plan to promote Frankfort and its economic development going into the future. We want to try and get this done by July of 2021. Of course, COVID caused us to have to postpone a lot of this work, and I don't know yet how the information will come in from the general public, because in the past we have had public meetings in which the public was invited to come and to share their visions of the future of Franklin County in terms of development and et cetera. Right now, the only mechanism we have is through Zoom or GoToMeetings, which of course we're on today. But what that does is limit, if you will, the participants' ability to see and hear one another as they present information to the Planning Commission. That might present a problem. We don't know. Will depend upon the consulting group to assist us in putting together the best possible means through which to do that. I think I'll stop there, Mr. Mayor, and answer any questions that the commission or you might have as opposed to rambling on.
All right, thank you. Any members of the commission have any questions for Mr. Jackson?
Mayor.
Speaking, is that Commissioner Tippett? Commissioner Tippett.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and I applaud the initiative. It's just, I think at least 3 of us are very short timers here, Mr. Jackson. This probably needs to be taken up by the next board for a longer term member from the city commission.
Ms. Tippett, we the planning commissioners kind of tossed that around as to the general election coming November 3. But we think that our process will be hampered if the sitting commission can't supply us with a participant. We believe that given the sitting commissioner should be on the commission until December, correct? And at that time, you'll know who the new commissioners are, and the new commission can elect someone to replace if the sitting commissioner is not the person who's elected to the board for the upcoming session. But we really do need someone at this point, even though it may be a temporary person.
Okay.
I don't mind to sit on that, until December.
So Commissioner Waldridge, go ahead.
I don't mind to sit on the committee until December to continue on if that's what they're asking for. And then when the new commission comes in, if they so choose, if I happen to be there or they so choose to replace, that's fine. Or I would fall off, but I don't mind to serve in that capacity until December if needed for that committee to continue moving forward.
Okay. Commissioner Wisman.
Mayor, yeah, I was a couple of thoughts here. Sharon, thank you for taking this forward. It is a full rewrite. This is a federally mandated process that we go through that in theory is intended to guide all actions of the city and county together. So I understand we're at a full required every 10 years to do a full rewrite, every 5 an update. So I'm anxious and excited actually about the process, and hopefully by spring we'll be able to have better community involvement. A couple of thoughts come to light here. I agree with Commissioner Tippett that we're just about to the end of the line here for a few folks, and who knows what's going to happen after that. I think maybe perhaps the best option would be just to ask the mayor to fill that seat. I understand it was the mayor or your appointee mayor or choice by the commission to fill that spot. I understand, Mr. Jackson, this is just to initially, do you foresee it moving beyond the committee issuing the RFP for a consultant before the end of the year?
Well, really, if we can get a consultant on board, I would see in December at least having at least one meeting in which the public might participate. But then again, that all depends upon how quickly the steering committee works to get the RFP out there and we get responses.
Okay, thank you. I'll conversely, Mayor, I think it would just be for you to do it, but I'll be happy to volunteer as well. I think I probably have the most experience of much of the commission with planning issues, having served on one of our planning bodies before, but I'll leave it up to the body.
Okay, and we can't make that tonight. We can't do any action since that's not, well, I guess it is an agenda item. Or how about we just talk with our staff and then put it on for the October 12th
Yes.
session. Mr. Jackson, is that okay if we do that?
If you need to, Mayor, yes. But I would ask if the commission would have difficulty with us beginning to draft the RFP. Doesn't mean that whoever is elected won't have an opportunity to review and modify, if necessary, the RFP. But I'm kind of anxious to try and get started. And maybe it's just the staff legwork that'll be done within the next 10 to 14 days, pulling data and information together that will allow us to draft the RFP as soon as we get the city representatives in place.
Okay. Any other commissioners?
Mayor, I'll just say I think that's completely appropriate. We have a fairly limited pool of consultants throughout Kentucky that are going to be able to respond to that anyway, and some we've worked with more often than not. That would seem to be a very appropriate process.
All right. Mr. Jackson, thank you. We'll work as quickly as we can. I don't think the commission's I don't think anybody's going to object to going ahead and starting the process until we get somebody appointed for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next item would be our consent calendar. I'll call on the city manager to read the consent items.
Thank you, sir. Number one, do I need to read the minutes? August 10, 2020 special work session? Is that on the consent calendar?
Just
Ms.
by
Ross?
title.
Okay. August 12, 2020 special meeting, August 13, 2020 special meeting, August 24, 2020 special regular meeting. Number two, new vehicle purchase. Police purchase. This memo is to request the purchase of 3 2024 Police Interceptor utility patrol vehicles utilizing funds from 2020-2021 budget. These vehicles will be purchased from Crossroads Ford and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Purchase of these vehicles is included in the 2021 budget. Cost for 3 vehicles will be $100,323. Crossroads Ford beat the state bid contract price by $2,817. Vehicles will be purchased and upfitted through budgeted funds from account 530.90.56551. 3, from police to authorize the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Internet Crimes Against Children Program, ICAC, and the Frankfort Police Department for the deterrent, prevention, investigation, and prosecution of predators seeking to exploit or engage minors in sexual activity via electronic means, and for the mayor to sign all related documents. This MOU allows FPD to join KSP and other agencies in a joint effort to deter, prevent, investigate, and prosecute predators who seek to engage minors in sexual activity via electronic means. Financial impact associated with this MOU will be minimal and may save in equipment and training costs. Or
City Manager,
Amendment 1 to HMB
read the top part.
services.
You don't have to read the whole thing. You can just read the top, like with.
I'm just going to read 2 lines of it.
That's perfect.
Public Works. Purchase of the agenda item is to seek commission approval to Amendment 1 to add $30,000 to HMB's professional service agreement for engineering services for various projects and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Funds are available in the stormwater account 735.00.51100. 5, tree maintenance, woodland tree care. Purpose of the agenda item is to seek commission approval for a contractual agreement with Woodland Tree Care for the maintenance of city right-of-way and parks trees, and approval for the mayor to sign any related documents. Woodland Tree Care currently has a state contract. The amount requested is $40,000. Monies are available in account 100.86.53251. 6, brownfield grant consultant recommendation grants. Staff request authorization to award a contract and enter into an agreement with LFI for services related to brownfield assessment grant received by the city for a community-wide assessment. A contract for services will be reviewed by Ms. Ross, city attorney. There is no match required from the city. 7, contract extension with Laura's Cleaning Service LLC Sewer Department. Purpose of the memo is to recommend the approval of a cleaning service contract extension with Laura's Cleaning Service LLC and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Funding for this project is available on account number 200-68-53295. 8, purchase requisition for Aviva USA LLC from the Sewer Department. Purpose of this memo is to authorize a PO in the amount of $33,912 to Aviva USA LLC and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. Purchase would come out of the Plan Emergency Repairs 300.69.5655 FSD 68152-21. 9, purchase requisition for Smith and Lovelace from Sewer Department. Purpose of this memo is to authorize a PO in the amount of $101,209.90 to Smith and Lovelace and to authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. These parts have been purchased from Smith and Lovelace, which is a sole source provider. Grand total is $101,209.90. Purchase would come out of Planned Emergency Repairs 300.69.5655 FSD 68152-21. 2021 litter abatement grant. Staff requests authorization to obtain the mayor's signature on the 2021 litter abatement grant form. The funding level received is based upon street miles within the city limits. Based on previous years and street miles, the city anticipates receiving approximately $14,000 from the Kentucky Natural Resources Cabinet in 2021. There's no additional match required by the city. 11, Dell Virtual Environment IT. City of Frankfort IT Department is seeking the Board of Commissioners approval to purchase of a new virtual environment to replace all existing standalone servers for application production and domain admin functionality. This will centralize all servers to one location. Approval for the mayor to sign all related documents. The cost of purchase Dell Virtual Environment is $73,677.79, and funds are available in account 100-25-56551, 300-68-56551, and 100-50-56551. Personnel action. Transfer Tim Puckett Sewer Tech 4 to Maintenance Tech 4. Appointment Jonathan Grimes, PW Garage, Mechanic 1. Appointment David Simonis, Sewer, Plant Operator 1. Appointment Amanda Livesey, Firefighter 1 for fire. Appointment Mark Harris, Fire 9820, Firefighter 1. Appointment Cesar Mejia Ochoa, Fire 9820, Firefighter 1. Appointment Marcus Cornett, Fire 9820, Firefighter 1. Appointment Anthony Poor, Fire 9820, Firefighter 1. Promotion William Niederbrock, Police E911, 91 Telecommunicator 1 to Telecommunicator 1 Assistant TAC. Promotion Joel Dunmeyer, 92920, Police Lieutenant to Police Captain. Retirements Charles Washburn, Police 83120, Patrol Officer 3, authorized payout of accrued leave. Retirement Robert Courtney, Police 93020, Police Officer 3, authorized payout of accrued leave. Resignation Fanabayo, Sewer 92820, Pre-treatment Coordinator Chemist, authorized payout of accrued leave.
That concludes the consent items. Is there a motion to?
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman, second by Commissioner Sauer. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry. All those in favor, all those present tonight will be considered to vote in affirmative on the consent items unless they file vote modification forms with the city clerk, which I don't believe we have any that I'm aware of. So those items are adopted. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Next item would be action items. And this would be second readings and first reading of ordinances and orders, etc. We'd require the reading and then the vote on the second readings, and the first readings, all they require is a reading. And of course, we'll answer any, staff is here to answer any questions. So the first item, I'd ask the city solicitor to read item number 1 by title and summary only, please.
Sorry about that. 1 second, Mayor. I have just dumped all my papers on the floor.
That's
And
all right.
so I don't have it in front of me. Give me 1 second. I've got them all back up here.
It only talks about taxation.
It's just taxes. Sorry. Where did it go? Okay. Here it is. I apologize. Okay. An ordinance fixing the rate of taxation for the year 2021 on all motor vehicles and levying said tax for all city purposes. This ordinance fixes the rate of taxation for the year 2021 at the sum of 22.7 cents on each $100 valuation on all motor vehicles subject to taxation in the city.
Thank
Move to
you.
approve, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sauer. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, please call roll.
Mr. Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, that item is approved. Next item would be number 2. This would be second reading. Ask the solicitor to read it by title and summary only, please.
An ordinance fixing the rate of taxation for the year of 2020 on all taxable capital of domestic life insurance companies subject to tax and levying said tax for all city purposes. This ordinance fixes the 2020 City of Frankfort ad valorem tax rate of 10 and no tenth cents on each $100 valuation on taxable capital of domestic life insurance companies.
Move
Thank
to
you.
approve, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sauer. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, that item is adopted. Next would be item number 3. Please read by title and summary only.
An ordinance fixing the rate of taxation for the year of 2020 on all real and tangible personal property subject to tax, public service companies, and levying said tax for all city purposes. This ordinance fixes the 2020 City of Frankfort ad valorem tax rate at 17 4/10 cents on each $100 valuation of all real and personal property, 17 4/10 cents on each $100 valuation on public utilities, and public service companies taxable on a franchise basis.
Thank you.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sauer. Any discussion?
Mayor, I think it is important to point out this new rate allows us to collect no more than we collected last year on personal and real property.
Good point. Thank you. All right. Any others? If not, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Here.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, this clarification. Did Commissioner Waldridge vote?
She
Okay.
said here.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yes, sorry, I did say here, but you guys were froze on my side and Bobby texted me to refresh. So yes, I'm voting yes.
Okay.
I was sorry. I was saying I was here because I was back up. So yes, I vote yes.
That's okay. No, that's what. So I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Any other members need to change or explain their vote? All right. Item is adopted. Next would be first reading on item number 4. Read this. Has to be read by title and summary only, please.
An ordinance amending various provisions of Chapter 90 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances to establish a permanent program to trap, neuter, and release community cats. This ordinance amends various sections of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances related to animal control as follows. Section 90.01 is amended to add definitions of community cat caregiver, ear tipping, return to field, and trap, neuter, release, and to amend the definition of abandonment to exclude community cats properly returned to their original home location. Section 90.02 is amended to exclude community cats from the prohibition against animals running at large. 90.06 is amended to replace the term destroy or kill with humanely euthanize. 90.20 is amended to exclude community cats from licensing and registration requirements. 90.22 is amended to exclude community cats from the prohibitions against animals running at large. 90.26 is amended to add Franklin to the Humane Society description. 90.23 is amended to clarify a function of the animal control officer to exclude community cats from the stray hold period required by state law and to replace the pilot program with a permanent program for TNR of community cats to their original home locations. 90.24 is amended to allow the Humane Society to offer individuals reclaiming animals the ability to pay a $50 copay for sterilization rather than the pickup fee of $80. 90.25 is amended to exclude community cats from the state stray hold period prior to adoption, and 90.99 is amended to replace the term destroy with humanely euthanize.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mayor, just a comment.
Oh, Commissioner Westman.
I just want to thank Ms. Ross for working with the Humane Society to clean up a lot of this troubling language and problematic language. I know that has been an ongoing process, and I think this will, some of these changes will benefit our community much more.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next item would be item number 5. This would be declaration of 2 handguns as surplus property, and this is in accordance with our policy to allow retiring officers to purchase the duty weapons. If there's any questions, we can answer those. If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Wissman. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Waldridge. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Tippett,
Yes.
Mr. Wissman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer, Commissioner Sauer,
Paused.
Okay. Bobby.
Looks like he's frozen.
He is okay.
Mayor May.
Yes, and we can come back and let Commissioner Sauer be recorded on that item when he gets back with us. Number 6. Excuse me, this is retirement of K-9 officer.
I'm
Aaron.
back.
There we
I'm
go.
back.
Commissioner Sauer,
Could I
how-
be registered as yes on the previous motion, Mayor? Sorry about that.
It's all right, thank you. The clerk get Commissioner Sauer registered as an aye vote. Okay,
I got it. Thank you.
thank you. Next would be item number 6, retirement of K-9 officer Aaron. And I was able to participate in a retirement ceremony for K-9 officer Aaron this afternoon, and also to promote Joel Delmeyer from lieutenant to captain. So again, thanks to the 5 years of service that Officer Shane Music and Aaron have completed past 5 years. We appreciate that very important work that the K-9 officers do and their handlers, people that don't understand the extra amount of time it takes to do training and to work with K-9s. It's a big commitment, and we thank K-9 officer Aaron and also now Sergeant Music and his family for supporting that program these past 5 years. And Sergeant Music now goes to a different assignment, so he'll not be a dog handler at this point. But we thank them and we appreciate the work that they do.
Mayor, I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Wissman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sauer. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Waldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Tippett,
Yes.
Mr. Wissman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, it's adopted. Next item, number 7, surplus items for the downtown parks maintenance facility in order. This is some leftover supplies from Days of Nights event that we did in 2016, and some old unused furniture from the office and the downtown maintenance facility. So if there's any questions, we can answer those. If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sauer. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldron,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, I'm adopted. Next would be item number 8. This is a surplus item, the Rockwood trailer. In emergency management, this is a mobile command post that has been used for several years, and the cost to repair and maintain it is more than it can justify being used.
Move to approve, Mayor.
By Commissioner Wiseman.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sauer. Any discussion? Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, that item is adopted. Next would be number 9. It's a hold harmless and liability agreement that the city's entering into with Buffalo Trace Distillery. This is in regards to the inspection, observation, measurement, sampling, and testing activities in connection with relating to the wastewater facilities or discharges to the public sewer system from Buffalo Trace. If there's any questions, we can answer those. If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sauer. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, the item is adopted. Next, item number 10 is a resolution approving the authorization for an assistance agreement between the City of Frankfort and the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority to provide up to $1.5 million of loan funds for wastewater system improvements for the Miami Trail Pump Station replacement.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Tippett. It's kind of like the Beatles. You know, they had one main songwriter, and then some of the others, they did contribute to a few songs on the motions and seconds tonight. Thank you all. If there's any questions, we'll answer those. If not,
Mayor, I would ask Kenny about the loan and how long it is, and at what rate, if he has that available.
all right. Is our wastewater treatment operator, department head on?
That's Robert Barker.
Oh, hi, Mr. Barker.
I'm setting in for Kenny. That information, I'll probably have to get with Kenny tomorrow and get that to you. But I know the rate's a good rate, better than we can get locally, as far as I know.
It should be lower than ever with the
Yeah.
interest rates that they are today, Mr. Barker. Can you give us a guesstimate on the term? How long?
I don't have that information right now. I'd have to get that also from him.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't want to delay the project, Mayor. I can still support it. It's something that we have done on a as-needed basis. The interest rates are extraordinarily low right now. So I'm sure we do have a good rate, and the good management of the sewer department is to be commended.
All right. Any other questions? All right. If not, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Next would be a request for funding for Franklin County schools for Wi-Fi. There are a small number of students that live in the city limits that don't have access to Wi-Fi. The total cost on this would be approximately $5,000 if any. I know we have Mr. Cup on. Let me get back to my screen. Mr. Cup is on. If he's willing to answer any questions. If there are any questions, and if not, we can certainly entertain a motion to approve. Commissioner Wisman?
Mayor, yes, I just wanted Mrs. Ross to confirm the process, the legality of it. I know we've had this discussion several times in the past, and just thought it would be good for us to revisit before we approve.
Okay. Ms. Ross?
Thank you. Yes, we just need to make sure that we enter into an agreement that spells out exactly what we'll be doing and the funding and what the criteria are, any reporting requirements, so that we carefully match what we've done for Frankfort Independent Schools as closely as we can in the circumstances. And I think I understand the county, Tommy, I'm sorry, Mr. Russell, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the county was also considering this, so we may want to coordinate our efforts with them. So I would just ask that any motion to approve include the direction to proceed with an agreement, and authorize, you all can either bring it back before you or authorize the mayor to sign.
I do have a question, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Commissioner. I saw Commissioner Wisman's hand first.
Quite all right. It's quite all right.
Then I'll come
That's
back to Commissioner.
I was just going to ask Mr. Russell if he would give us a synopsis of what the county is engaging or considering, if you have that information as well. And
Yes, sir.
generally the request of the program, I suppose.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kopp and Judge Wells and myself, we had sat down and had a conversation roughly about the amount of students they're trying to get Wi-Fi since everything is virtual in the school system right now. I believe in the city, we ended up with 98 students that live in the city limits that go to the county school system that don't have or can't afford one of the two Wi-Fi. Mr. Kopp's proposal, I think, was an estimate of $18,000 or something like that to help out as many students as he could. And we were gonna, he asked the judge and the mayor and us for $5,000 between the city and the county. The city for $5,000, the county for $5,000. So I thought with 98 students, we could certainly afford the $5,000 to help out with the program.
And I would be glad to go into a little bit more detail if you all would like. I appreciate you asking me to be on here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I just sort of have an accounting question, Mayor.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So will we be making a lump sum payment? Are we dedicating $5,000, or will the county schools invoice us as incrementally as we go along?
I think we were doing a lump sum. Is that correct, Mr. Russell?
That was my intention, sir, is whenever Ms. Ross got an agreement drafted between Franklin County Schools and the city of Frankfort or Franklin County.
Well, that's fine. That's the best way to do it because, I was going to suggest that it become a lump sum payment if it wasn't, because as I recall, there was some issue with the city schools when they hadn't billed us for all the money that we'd allocated for them. So if we're going to allocate the money to the school district to use for kids, let's give them the entire amount. That's just my point. Thank you.
Right. And we would certainly encourage supporting this, especially now with the situation where students are having to be at home or other places to do their homework and try to catch up. Things are much more difficult for them. So we would ask that the commission do support this.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Tippett, second by Commissioner Wisman. Just for clarification, so the city attorney would like to have us tonight to provide some clarity on whether this needs to come back before the board, or if you'll authorize the mayor to sign after it's approved. And of course, all the members of the commission will see that document prior to being signed, just to make sure that if there's any issues on it, that we address those. And if there's not, we'll sign it. And if there are issues, we'll bring it back before the board.
Let's amend the motion to let the mayor sign.
So we can either amend it or we can start over. If you want to make that in form of motion and amendment, Commissioner Sauer, then it would require a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Waldridge. All right, so the motion, Commissioner Sauer.
Is to amend the main motion to allow the mayor to sign.
Right. Any questions on the amendment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right.
I would like to add, I just wanted to add, I appreciate you guys getting this together. I know that I brought this up when we were discussing the independent schools and adding the city schools, you know, to the independent Wi-Fi that they had with Frankfort Plant Board way before COVID, just adding them to it, the ones that are in the city limits. So I'm glad that we're able to continue to do this for our city students that are in the public schools. So it does show that it was needed when we asked for our students to be put on the independent area as well, to share that money with the independent schools that we had, since they were asking for more money. And I'm hoping that we can continue to help out all that we can with our city students that are attending public schools. So I appreciate this finally coming to fruition.
Thank you. All right, any other, not on the main motion, are there any questions on the main motion? As amended? Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, that's adopted. Thank you, Mr. Cup and Mr. Russell, for helping facilitate. Next item would be,
Yeah. May I ask quickly just to comment on this?
go ahead.
I talked to one of the plant board members of the board the other day about exactly this, and I'd like to maybe ask staff if we could explore in part of the MOA that you're going to draft, Ms. Ross, if we might not look at a bit more of a permanent program. We have 347 students here who do not have access right away, and that is just an imperative element of the future in education. So somehow, if we're setting the standard with the plant board, if we might not consider in drafting how this might go forward in the future, and maybe this commission can consider a yearly lump sum to set aside or something to provide that kind of access for our students.
Okay. Ms. Ross?
I'm happy to look into that and to see what that might look like. I would ask that you all would consider letting us go forward with this one-time payment this time, and then setting forth the terms in an MOA that would address it every year, if that's at all possible, because we need to look at the city schools agreement as well.
Yes.
Is there any objection?
Yes. No.
Oh.
No, I was going to share the same thing. Just, yeah, if we could look at the city school, because that was when I'd asked for this to happen with the city school. So I think we could almost use the same verbiage as them, or even sort of put it underneath of one umbrella, Laura. When I asked for this to be done at the pre-COVID, this should have already been done, but it was voted against. But yeah, maybe we could move forward with that. It'd be great. Thanks, Laura.
Ms. Ross, I hear that there may be a discussion of establishing, or maybe pre-discussion of establishing a foundation, the Frankfort Plant Board Foundation. My thought is maybe that could be a mechanism that the city could help put funding towards, that would not be directly from the ratepayers of the plant board utility, that would provide a pot of funds for those that are unable to get access, that we could set those funds aside. So just a thought. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item, number 12, discussion of solid waste. We will either entertain not motions, questions on our current agreements with landfill, et cetera, or any other item that you'd like to talk about.
Anyone else?
Nobody?
Mayor, I do have one
Commissioner
item that I had spoken with Mr. Russell about a couple of weeks ago. As all of you, I'm sure, know, the issue is ongoing with waste in our downtown. Currently, the city does not collect trash except for residential apartments in the downtown core, and many of the businesses have to find locations for dumpsters. My thought going forward is that there is going to be a significant problem if we see growth the way that we would like it to develop in our downtown, that there just aren't places that every business can have a large scale dumpster in the middle of town. Mr. Russell and I discussed some options of possibly expanding our city trash pickup to businesses if they could get away with just using our traditional dumpster Herbie size bins, that we could maybe look at a daily pickup, or we could provide centralized trash containers. Since our downtown core is such a tight urban environment, there just are not locations like in the urban parts of the city. It's been something that's been brought up in ongoing discussion for at least a decade that I know of. So I was wanting to give some thought, actually probably task staff with bringing us some recommendations to consider how we might adjust our current program to better fit the needs of the businesses and be one more program that we can help our small businesses grow and meet their needs in the downtown core at a minimum, and possibly beyond if there are areas of need. But I know the downtown has been a significant problem. If you're walking down St. Clair Street, for instance, you see a row of about 30 dumpsters in one of the most prime spots in our downtown walking environment. And yeah, Mr. Russell may have some further thoughts after our discussion. I don't know if he has any recommendations for us or not.
Actually, I think he does, because we've talked about that after you brought that up. So, Mr. Russell?
Yeah, Ms. Beard and Mr. Roberts and I met, and we had conversations about downtown, and Ms. Hecker even, that's the world from which she came. So she's now on city staff and is very, very knowledgeable in the subject. So, some of the issues that I see right off the bat are concerning the mall and those areas. Even though we don't pick up business refuse, we do all the public cans down there, and we've changed that route to the very first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock. And then we're going to go and look to see if we can come up with some plans for beautification of a group of cans or recycling bins or something like that. But we have visited that. We've also talked about recyclable, the difference in Lexington and Louisville and things of that nature. So we've had those conversations. We've already moved the route to the first time in the morning, especially during the summertime, to make sure that the odor is gone before tourists get up and out and about on the mall and those areas like that. And we're going to find a way to, like say, beautify the can holding places around the downtown area, especially in the core area downtown. Can beautify that.
I had a couple of comments from downtown citizens. There was a letter, just for public information here, a letter that went out to everyone that so a couple of folks contacted me and said, was this something I did an infraction or something about my individual cans? I said, no, this was just a notice to let everyone know that the pickup route is earlier in the morning now throughout the downtown. It used to be 8 o'clock. It'll now be that your trash is to be set on the curb by 7 a.m. So that can be picked up first part of the route in the morning. So we clear out the downtown, the collection schedule before, as Mr. Russell said, before tourism begins. And I just wanted to thank Mr. Russell. I brought this up casually, that I asked our staff to look at this about a year and a half ago, and Mr. Russell has made the task accomplished within a week. So I'm impressed, and thank you, Mr. Russell, for taking care of that. And I hope we can consider some additional policies that will address more of the businesses and helping them to remove the refuse like most larger communities do. So we don't have to have a downtown full of large dumpsters, and we can focus our efforts on tourism efforts and things like that to help with the recovery of our local economy after COVID. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, yes, thank you, Commissioner Westman, for bringing that issue up. And Mr. Russell, thank you for your quick action on that to make our city better and be more efficient. We do appreciate that.
Mayor,
Commissioner Sauer.
Mayor and Tommy, as you're aware, I think one thing that was done a couple of years ago, or actually maybe a year and a half ago, was to build a wall of well, what am I trying to say? A wooden fence to hide the dumpsters. And that might be something to look into, where you do have a large, expansive wall to maybe gather those dumpsters and keep them out of sight. Thank you.
Commissioner Sauer, that was my main objective in the beginning of the discussion, was those particularly, that the fence that the city installed was broken the second week it was there and has been ever since, and it's been fairly unsightly and is a prime wall for potential art or advertising or something for our community. So that was the beginning of our discussion.
All right, thank you. Next would be item number 13, Parks Projects Update. We'll say I appreciate the work of our city manager and parks director and their staffs for getting down and getting things moving in Dolly Graham. We appreciate that. It's amazing how quickly things can happen when we have folks committed and going in that same direction. So we thank you for that. I've heard nothing but positive comments from people in the community. And Mr. Russell, thank you, Mr. Pickens, for making that a priority.
You're welcome.
Mayor, could they elaborate a little bit on the improvements?
Absolutely. I think Mr. Pickens is going to make a presentation.
Yep. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Just a brief rundown of a lot of the stuff that we've done. We've had 2 volunteer work days the past 2 Fridays, working in partnership with Public Works. Wanted to thank Katie and David Gibson and all the crew from Public Works. We wouldn't have been able to get this far without them partnering with us. So it's been a really good team effort. Also working with Remove Invasive Partnerships with Chris Schumler and her crew. So they've helped us a lot the past couple of Fridays. So I wanted to thank them. We also worked with South Frankfort Neighborhood Association to try to get the word out. And they also provided a few volunteers as well. But we removed several dead or dying trees from Dolly Graham. So we've really opened it up to a lot more sunlight down there. As I just mentioned, we've removed a lot of invasive species along the fence rows, down along the riverbank, in the park, the main park itself. Just a lot of winter creeper and sumac and different things like that have just really taken over. We've cleared off a lot of that, especially on the fences. We've installed new LED lighting under the shelter, which has helped. We're attempting to reach the owners of the old VFW there to try to get that area cleaned up as well, working in partnership with them. We're planning to pave and reline the basketball court, hopefully in the very near future. A new park sign, since the old one, I don't know if it was stolen or somehow it's not there anymore. So we've got a new one being fabricated as we speak. It should be installed any day now. We pressure washed the shelter. We also have a draft plan in place that Mr. Russell is currently looking over, and we're still kind of tweaking that. But we have some other plans and renovations that are in the work. We kind of have to be careful with that, so that way we don't do renovation work that was originally planned to be in the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. But we're trying to decide, what we can and can't do. So that plan is in draft and should be completed very soon. where we'll start some more renovation down there as well. And the last thing I wanted to bring up on Dolly Graham, just briefly, we just put out a call for artists. I believe that was Sunday night. Just kind of want to clarify what we're looking for there. Our plan was we want to paint the shelter down there because it's an off beige color and the roof is brown. There's just no color to it. So we want to try to brighten it up and make it more sightly for the area. But we want to get the community involved in this process. So we're not necessarily looking to get just one artist and then that one artist just do all the work. We're looking for an artist or artist, multiple artists potentially, to work with the local community, especially the King Center, 2nd Street School, or any other private schools in the area, youth groups, churches, just to get the kids involved of that area. And we actually want the kids to do the painting. So art students from 2nd Street School, or it could even be college age, students from KSU. It really, we're looking for students to actually do the painting and paint a mural of some sort on the shelter. What exactly that mural is going to look like or be, we're not to that point yet. That's why we're kind of looking for an artist to send us proposals on what the mural might look like, and then work with the students to paint that mural. So we're not, and then the city will pay for all the materials, all the cost of paint and whatnot, was the original plan, to kind of make it a community event, community pride thing, get all the kids down there and let the kids say, hey, I would love to see this, and then let the kids do it. So hopefully that makes more sense on what we're looking for in that call to artists. Ms. Blair, if you wanted to, if that doesn't cover it good enough, you can chime in as well, or Mr. Russell. So any questions on Dolly Graham?
No, thank you so much for getting down and getting that going, Mr. Russell. And I had some conversations early on, and he said, let's just get down there and start doing some things. So we appreciate that, and talking about the artist. And it was important for me to make sure that we had community artists, especially folks that understand the neighborhood. And we've talked with our pastors in the neighborhood churches, and they've given us some names and some thoughts of people who could possibly fill that role. And the hope is that children can be involved in that. Of course, we realize there's some restrictions due to the risk of COVID infection. So we have to try to figure out how to get around that. But it's always important to let the community be involved in things in their neighborhood. And that's what we think this will be, a neighborhood building exercise as well.
Yeah.
The screen just
Mayor.
Somebody just came in. Yes, who is talking? Come on, Commissioner. Sorry.
Yes, this is related to the painting and so forth. As Sean takes a look at these different artists and so forth, the city might also look at the trestle downtown. Not only maybe a little update of the current lovely, long, big painting that's on there that was done by students, but to also paint the other side as well. Just a thought. Thank you.
I think we did have some input on that, Mr. Russell. I think the railroad has given permission for that already. So I think Mr. Russell read your mind, Commissioner Sauer. Commissioner Wall, do you have your hand up?
I did. I just wanted to just say thank you to Sean and his team, as well as those that came out with Chris Schimler and those that came out from all over the community to help on Friday. Put in a great deal of work. That it was amazing to watch removal of the invasive plants and learn more about them. So I think we as citizens need to learn more about the invasive plants. While we were out there, I had discussion with a couple of the people, and this may not happen, with this particular commission, but hopefully in the next commission, spending the day out there with them, goats were brought up to help maintain, to help, since we don't have the people power, and possible maybe a relationship with KSU and goats to help keep that controlled. Also, looking into some of our ordinances of selling invasive plants in our stores. We know that there's been some other states that have passed orders and stuff that allow non-sale of invasive plants to be sold in stores. So that could be something that we'll look at. Some people, they buy it because it looks pretty, and then it takes over and continues to grow out of hand and continue to grow. So, just more education, I think, with Christian Miller and them, I think is great. I do want to say thank you to John Sauer and Tommy for bringing Da Vinci's Pizza once again for us. It was amazing. So thank you for your donation. So I want to draw that, and just thank you to Harry Carver and Diane Strong for coming out early that morning. They put in a lot of work. Also, Diane Strong's daughter really put in a lot of good work, which was good to see a teenager out that early in the morning help remove. So we enjoyed the camaraderie of everyone there, and just want to say thank you to both of those individuals for coming out, and her daughter coming out just to put some time out into the park. So it was a great time, and I just thank you guys for continuing your work and making that place look so much better in that area, Sean. So thank you for your hard work.
It was a team effort, a lot of people, and it's not done. We're not done yet, but we're just getting started, but it's taking a team.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Tippett, thank you. I know back a few years ago, we started the invasive species program, something that was important to you, what you saw in South Frankfort, and thanks for getting the ball rolling on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, and if I may have the floor for just a second, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, much of the credit goes to the good folks of the South Frankfort Neighborhood Association. I was probably president, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer. But invasive species are a big problem with our older neighborhoods, and it's something that they really work hard to do. And I think Commissioner Waldridge is exactly right. We need to continue a broader, deeper educational program for our citizens, just how deleterious these invasive species are. They will eat everything up. So yes, and again, thanks to the South Frankfort Neighborhood Association for their due diligence on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Wisman? You're still muted, sir. Commissioner Wisman, you're still muted, sir.
Sorry, I didn't realize I'm muted. Thank you. Sorry. I just wanted to thank Mr. Russell and Mr. Pickens for their actions in the last few weeks. They've expedited things that we've asked them to do, and are just running with requests that we've been making for quite some time. I'm very excited about Dolly Graham being able to open up the riverfront finally and see the water from there. And just wanted to thank Sean, Mr. Pickens specifically. We were there till 9, almost 10 o'clock on Thursday night with the Park Master Plan consultants, engaging with the community and talking about future plans and future endeavors and new ideas to expand beyond the current project for Dolly Graham and our entire park system. And then Mr. Pickens was back, first thing the next morning working on invasives, and we're making some significant headway with all of our parks, I think, and I'm very excited, as I was when Mr. Pickens came on with us about the new day with our parks and the potential held in what we're going to do in the future, and the really just sort of the new focused effort on maintenance that has been such a kind of a long-standing issue for much of our parks, that we have a vast park system and not nearly enough staff. But I'm excited that we've also, Mr. Russell and Mr. Pickens have been working to hire a few new staff members to bring on some younger, more able bodies than maybe we've had in the past that can really make a more concerted effort to tackle and address some of these problems and projects that we have. So, Mr. Pickens, I was going to ask just if you could explain where that RFP is for the mural for the shelter at Dolly Graham and how folks can respond. You didn't say specifically.
Yeah, we just put it out on social media. I don't know if it's in the paper yet. Maybe it is. Basically, they just need to respond to Blair Hecker Her contact information is in there, and there's multiple I guess questions on there that we're asking for local artists to submit, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment. But just how would you engage the students? We're asking, how would you reach out to the school, to reach out to the King Center to get students involved? What type of mural might you be looking for? What your experience is with arts, yada yada. Several things there, and then submit that proposal to Blair. Then we put a date deadline on there, I believe 2 to 3 weeks. And then once we get them all in, we'll then look at those and try to select an artist or artist that we feel best fits our plan to have down there. So they just need to read over the information on the call to artists that's out, and then respond to Miss Hecker before the date that's been posted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was looking at another screen. There also, we've been having discussion about filling the city arborist position. I'm glad that that's something that Commissioner Wisman reminded me of, that we've had that hanging out there for a while. And something I know Mr. Pickens, the city manager, has talked to you about that, something that's near and dear to me since that program started when I was mayor. And I don't want to leave without that position being filled. So I think, from what I understand, and you can answer it, or Mr. Russell, we'll have it on the agenda for the next meeting on October let me look at the date.
12th.
October the 12th, yes. So thank you all for that. And that's an important thing. I can tell you, having that program started and where we were, we've planted literally thousands of trees in the community, and having that arborist position is extremely important, especially now with some of the diseases that have hit the community, with some of the various tree species. And also, speaking of invasive species, when years ago, a lot of landscaping nurseries around were designing Bradford pears into residential designs. And of course, we know that those are a terrible tree to have now. They're pretty, but they've taken over in some places, and that position of the arborist is important, and we need to get that position hired as soon as possible. So we know the staff's working. So Commissioner Wisman, thank you for that reminder about that one. We appreciate it. That helps to serve the beautification of our community, and helps with so much tourism and others. So we thank you for that.
I can give a brief Capitol view in Fort Hill if you'd like, but it's just very brief.
Sure.
Okay. Capitol view, just real briefly, the light project is moving along well. Sour 1 is complete. Sour 2 is in the works as we speak. So I expect in the next 10 to 2 weeks, everything should be wrapped up down there and good to go. The sewer project is moving along. I've seen them down there with their heavy equipment. They're digging, they're laying lines. They've been locating all kinds of utilities, utilities that really weren't exactly known where they were. They're being found. And so really trying to be careful not to hit. Seems like every utility in the city of Frankfort goes through Capitol View some form or fashion. So we've had a few setbacks there, but they're doing their due diligence to make sure we get that right. So that project is moving forward as well. Fort Hill, the split rail fencing is on order. We ordered that about 2 weeks ago. So I expect in the next 2 weeks or so that they'll be arriving, and we'll start organizing a crew to go up and start laying that split rail fencing around our historic and archaeological areas there on Fort Hill. Currently in the process of updating the quotes for replacing the roof on the Sullivan House. We had gotten quotes on those before COVID hit last summer, and we never did move on it. but we're going to try to move forward with that. So I'm just getting the quotes updated so we have make sure we have an accurate cost on that. And we are looking at a tin or metal type roof instead of going back with the cedar shakes, which is a maintenance nightmare. The museum board and historic preservationists that we have talked to feel that would fit that cabin okay. More like just a plain barn tin type is what we're looking at. So, and then like we just mentioned earlier, we've hired additional staff also for Fort Hill to help us maintain items up there better. Once we start making all these improvements that we have with the fencing and new signage that's in the works and different things, have nice stuff going back up there. We just need additional help to keep it looking nice. So we've hired one new staff member for up there currently. I'd like to hire a second one, and we're still working on that. But moving forward, and the last thing I have is we're continuing to work with city staff, Ms. Ross, John Carlton, Nicole Conkle, the Heritage Council, our UK Archaeology, et cetera. We're working with all those groups, and we're continuing to move forward on policies and protections for the areas up there at Fort Hill. So all that's in the works.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Wissman had his hand up, and then Commissioner Tippett.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Sean, I just wanted to ask you, well, two things quickly. Commissioner Waldridge brought it up, but we had talked a couple of weeks ago about the size of Fort Hill specifically, and the trend nationally to use goats to attack those invasive species. Spring would be an ideal time as those plants are coming up and tender, that I would love for us to go ahead and look at, see if we can find a farmer somewhere around that we can start thinking about that for next spring to attack some of those vast overplantings. And hopefully with the arborist on staff, we can really begin to grow that park as an old growth reforestation project as it was intended to be. But just quickly, I wanted to ask you if you could give us an update on East Frankfort 2, the pool house. And I was up the other day talking with a few folks about that fence and how, people just want to access the center of that park and what our plans are for that. And I didn't know if we had a time frame just yet or any other considerations for that park.
Yeah, no time frame just yet as far as the old pool house. We had about 8 months ago, we did get 3 quotes on what that would cost us to demolish, somewhere around the range of between $40,000 and $50,000 to have somebody come in and do that. Like I said, that's just an estimate. But Scott Tracy is still living there right next to the pool house. So we haven't moved forward with that just yet. But we would like to in the near future. That old pool house I would be afraid of it being an attractive nuisance. We could potentially look at taking the fence out, instead of tearing down the pool house just yet. We could potentially look at that, but then you're providing access to that old pool house a little bit easier, which may cause vandalism issues. So we may need to look at that, but we could potentially look at that. But I will say that East Frankfort is along with several other parks, Dolly and Fort Hill especially, but East Frankfort is very high on the priority list for the master plan consultants. They're heavily looking at that for improvements moving forward. So.
All right, thank you.
Mayor.
And then Commissioner Sauer.
Okay, Mayor. I have entered a little document into the record for everyone's perusal. It's called Historic Preservation Synopsis, and it fits hand in glove with what Mr. Pickens was saying, and bravo to Mr. Pickens for the excellent job he's doing. He's taking that ball and run with it. And if Bobby would put that up for everyone to see, I will not read the whole thing, but I would like to hit the highlights, okay? And generally what I'm doing is making reference to CLG evaluation letter on file. We have on file here dated October the 1st, 2018, that makes mention of the need for a historic preservation officer. And of course, we failed to do that, along with, that's kind of hand in glove with the arborist, Commissioner Wissman, another vital position that we need to have.
Agreed.
What I would say is when the city, when we fund this, and I fully expect that we will, we'll create this position. This preservation officer will be able to guide projects to the proper oversight entities first. And there will be no ambiguity as to how this process becomes certified. And we will understand, and future commissions will understand, that we're not violating any antiquity laws and setting ourselves up to lose thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant monies because we've not done our due diligence. So I think that position could make sure that doesn't occur. And it could, make sure that the city's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's fulfilling its obligations. And Bobby, I won't read through this, but if you folks, and I'd like to encourage every citizen to ask the city clerk for a copy of this presentation. It's historic preservation synopsis. Everyone needs to become educated as to what our obligations as a city are to our cultural resources. Our cultural resources are above ground and below ground, and they have to be identified and protected in order for us to go through the proper protocols to make sure that we're eligible for grant monies. So that's why I submit that we should have the officer. So there are several things here on this first page. Bobby, can you scroll through that a little bit more, please, to the next page? Go to where it says, that's state federal obligations. Oh, and by the way, while I'm thinking about this, I strongly encourage every candidate for city office, mayor and city commission, to get a copy of this, educate themselves, and become familiar with these things. Because it means a lot of money to the city if we do it correctly. And it goes on about the next page, Bobby, talks about certified local government programs. And the next one talks about economic impact of historic preservation. And if you would, Bobby, go all the way to the page that says Kentucky Heritage Council does hereby accept and approve Frankfort, Kentucky as a certified local government. Do you see that, Bobby? It's near the end of the presentation. It's a tome, I know. It's a scholarly work by my preservationist friends. Go one more, Bobby, if you can. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. One more. Is there one more?
I see the end of it.
Back up just a little bit, buddy. Okay, I'm going, well, and I'll just read it. I'll read this, and I'll be quick about it, I promise. I won't bore you folks. But in January of 1986, that's it, Bobby, yes, that is it. Thank you, post that, please. The late, great Jim Birch, one of our beloved former mayor, this was near and dear to his heart, and he made sure that we were on the cutting edge of these programs. And what it does is this agreement lists the obligations that the city has to meet in order to be a certified local government. And I won't read through them all, but it's plainly there for everybody to see. And it says to conduct or cause or conducted a continuing survey of cultural resources in the community, to recommend for designation local landmarks and historic districts for local governing body, to carry out the review and nomination of properties to the National Register in Historic Places, to establish use written guidelines for the conservation of local landmarks and historic districts, to advise other officials and departments from local government regarding the protection of local cultural resources, to act as a liaison to individuals and organizations in historic preservation matters, to work toward continuing education, this is important, to work toward the continuing education of citizens in historic preservation issues and concerns, to follow the program guidelines and specifications as outlined in the Historic Preservation Certified Local Government Kentucky Program Manual. And this is the bona fides. And when we agreed to join this cutting edge program, when Mayor Birch pushed it, it put us on par as a city with Lexington and Louisville and other progressive cities that really understood the true impact of preserving our cultural resources. And if we commit to following these protocols, it will alleviate not all the chances for controversy, but most of the chances for controversy amongst the folks who are pushing for progressive issues, and they're good, and I'm for them. And we can have this progress, and we can have this development, but we're going to have to go through the proper protocols to make sure that all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, and protect our cultural resources. And with that, I'll remove myself from this discussion. Thank you so much. Thanks, and thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Commissioner Tippett. Now, Commissioner Sauer, you were next.
I'll pass, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tippett, I'm sorry, Commissioner Tippett, thank you for your work on that issue and for all those that are assisting on that. We appreciate it. Important topics for us so that our city remains unique and we don't become any town USA. Something that I think you've heard us say many times before. We got to work on our cultural heritage and all of our neighborhoods and our parks and our ridge lines. Those are all important. Let's see. So that concludes the parks update. Is that correct? You had, unless other commissioners have any questions. Right. Again, thanks to Mr. Russell and Mr. Pickens for, Commissioner Wisman.
Mayor, I was just going to ask Mr. Pickens if he can give us an update on our park planning process and any other opportunities that may be coming up. I know we're going to be announcing some other in the near future for the community to have input in all of our parks beyond the ones we've mentioned tonight.
Yeah, they're moving along well. We're getting ready to start interviewing and meeting with the stakeholders that have been identified, and there's a bunch of them. Neighborhood associations and Rotary clubs, Optimist clubs, the list goes on and on. Audubon Society, it's a very long list that they're going to meet with individually and personally and get their input. Everybody that's involved in the park in some form or fashion. So it's going to be a long process, but it's going to be good. There's still the survey that's out there. There's 2 surveys that are still being circulated around that people can fill out and submit their input on the parks master plan. And it can be anything from, they want to see more basketball courts, or they want to see, more trails, or they want to see whatever they want to see and do in the parks, that they can submit on multiple platforms as well. So, but all the parks are being evaluated and being visited by the master plan consultants on multiple occasions. They're GIS mapping them. They're looking for park deserts, areas of the city where there's lacking in park space and lacking in park facilities. We're doing all that mapping work and survey work. The list goes on and on. It's a very comprehensive plan, and we're all excited about it. So there's still plenty of ways. The plan is still probably, 7 to 8 months, give or take, from being completed. So there's still going to be multiple opportunities for people to provide input. The plan obviously has got to come before you guys, the next city commission, for approval. So there's still going to be a lot of steps that's got to go through and community input. So,
Sean, if anyone has a stakeholder group, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church youth groups, school groups, youth clubs, senior citizen center, anything that anyone would like as a body or a group to submit, directly contact you to get on that list of stakeholders, if you will, to be interviewed by our park consultants? Yes,
no problem.
And we've had quite a great amount of input already, talking about some future projects, like for instance, adding a formal playground potentially to Thornhill and a playground to a formal park there. A playground has been mentioned for Bell Point. There's sort of an opportunity here to have input to create things new that have never existed, possibly. And as you mentioned, the park deserts. where we may have had neighborhoods develop that didn't consider park spaces in the past. This is a great opportunity. So I thank you for leading the charge on that. And the consultants are doing fantastically. I'm talking to them just about every week at this point. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you all so very much. We appreciate it. Next, sidewalks and street repairs. I know Commissioner Sauer had requested to get this on the agenda to make sure that our staff was able to get as many streets and sidewalks taken care of as possible. We appreciate that. I know our wonderful public works staff and our paving companies have been out doing things, and we appreciate all that. So we have Miss Katie Beard with us. If commissioners have any questions, I don't know if Miss Beard had a presentation or if she just wanted to be here to answer questions.
I can give you an update if you'd like, or I can just answer any specific questions you might have.
I think everyone should have gotten a memo about the status of the program and what was going to be left over, and how that money could be repurposed not repurposed, but continued in that program, but on some of the streets that weren't on the list, so we can upgrade those as well. Commissioner Wisman, do you have your hand up?
Yes, those lists are always changing.
I was just going to ask, maybe Mrs. Beard could kind of give us a synopsis of that. It was a great update that maybe since we have the public that will be viewing this, they can kind of hear exactly what streets are planned.
Okay. So we have yes, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. We have a good brief presentation that Sarah Anderson put together for us, and it's posted on the franklyspeakingky.com. That's our public engagement website that Blair Hecker keeps up and running with all kinds of information for the city and surveys and to get public response. So there is a presentation there that goes over all the streets that are on our list for this year. We are somewhat at the mercy of the scheduling of our contractors, but they are scheduled to start Collins Lane later this week. And then we're going to start on some other streets later in October, but around October 20th is the date that they've given us. And so when I have a better schedule with specific streets and dates, I will send out another update. But right now we're looking at Rouse Avenue. We'll start what we call our resurfacing projects will be Rouse Avenue, Blade Avenue, Dell Avenue, portions of Lewis Street, Westwood, Harrodsburg, Shelby Lane, Patricia and Grandview and Elkhorn. That area may be delayed due to a stormwater project that we're looking at. Ridgeview Drive, portions of that, Bypass Plaza Drive. These are just a few on our list. We've got an alternate list, including Langford and Missouri, that may replace some of those that are on hold due to utility work. That's our resurfacing contract. It's based on condition of streets. And like I say, that list is always changing and updating. So anybody that has some feedback, we'll take that into account. We've also got a utility repair contract where utility companies come in and cut our streets, then they pay a fee, and that money is turned around back to pave those streets. So on that list, we've got Swigert, Lyons Drive, Jackson, Collins Lane, Stevenson, to get us started on that project. But like I say, check out franklyspeakingky.com. It's a good I can't say that word, informative video that Sarah put together for us, and Blair helped us get posted. We've also got some outreach on potholes and sidewalks. Anywhere that people see damage that they need to report to us, you can just give us a call at 875-8500 and we'll put those repairs on the list. A lot of those we are able to do in-house. We've also got sidewalks in the works. And we're still working on updating that list, but we've got some work starting on East Main probably next week. And then we're going to be continuing repairs in Silver Lake 1 and 2. So I can give you all some more information upcoming. Sarah's working on a 3-year sidewalk plan so that we'll have a big picture on sidewalks coming up pretty soon.
Great. Did any commissioners want to ask Ms. Beard any questions? Commissioner Westman.
I'll just have a comment, Mayor, that Ms. Beard, the same goes for, we're going into the dark period of year. We mentioned it last time. If anyone has out street lights as they're out, maybe looking at sidewalks or noticing tripping hazards, to report all those kinds of things. Particularly the street lights all have generally a 5-digit code somewhere on them, number code that they can report and have those bulbs replaced if they're out.
Yes. Again, they just can call us at 875-8500 and we'll put all of those things in and get them repaired.
All right. Any others?
Thank you.
Well, Katie's up, Mayor.
Great, Commissioner Sauer.
Yeah. Well, Katie's up. I just wanted to express my appreciation to Public Works, especially those that are in the street cleaning crew downtown. Katie, they do a wonderful job. Anytime we have any type of gathering or festival or anything whatsoever, they're there. And the next day, you wouldn't know there was a party there. So I just wanted to commend those guys who run those street sweepers. They do a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so very much. Next item, CLG funding review.
Yes, Mayor, if I may. The city of Frankfort was awarded last year 2 different grants from the Certified Local Government Program. And as Commissioner Tippett has went into depth quite a bit about that program, this is a federal opportunity, really a federal mandate that requires that local municipalities adhere to certain requirements for review and protection of our historical resources, whether those be old paving and trolley lines that were uncovered on East Main earlier this year as part of that project, or archaeological aspects of Fort Hill. There are certain requirements to continue to protect and know what our historic resources are. So unfortunately, the 2 grant awards that we have, one was to send a staff member to the National Trust Conference, which has been canceled and is only digital this year, and the other was to provide a window restoration workshop that we had to cancel in April and for next month. So in light that we can apply for future funds next year for that workshop, I thought we might consider the current funding that we have for some other alternative use. Specifically, I had brought up the option with some of our staff, planning staff, and our former city manager last year about a group called CAMP, which is part of the National Association of Preservation Councils. I believe I have that wrong, but it's similar to that. And I reached out to them about a $5,000 allotment, $3,000, which is a federal grant, and $2,000 we have for local match, to look at an alternative to provide an in-depth training about historic preservation aspects for not only our architecture review board, for our planning staff, for all of our city staff, actually, that would be maybe our park staff and some others that might be dealing with these issues regularly, but also members of our community. And for the same amount, we can have up to 30 people. So I've circulated to a few folks and city manager a proposal that I would like us to consider, what would be essentially a 3-part day training for all of our folks about why we should preserve, what is historic preservation, legal basics, primer and legal basics, standards and guidelines for review, preservation planning, design review, all of those kinds of things. And I would like to formally make a motion that the $5,000 award that we have currently for training purposes for our staff member to attend the National Trust Conference, that we make a request to the Certified Local Government Program at the Kentucky Heritage Council to instead interview the option to have this camp hosted in the city of Frankfort. We've discussed some time frames, and it looks like there would be availability at the beginning of December to have our staff participate and some of our board members participate in one of these options. So that would have to be a request to the Certified Local Government Program to change the use of those funds, which I believe would be acceptable, and host one of these camp sessions. So I suppose my motion is to direct staff to inquire to the CLG program to move or alter our grant request, previous grant request, to host a camp in Frankfort before the end of the year with those funds that were previously awarded.
All right, so there's a motion by Commissioner Westman.
Do we need a second for discussion, Mayor?
We do, please.
I second it.
All right, second by Commissioner Tippett. All right, discussion. Commissioner Tippett.
Question for Commissioner Westman. So what you're basically saying is you want to amend the terms of the agreement so that the monies can be shifted for different use. Is this correct, Commissioner?
Yeah. Yeah, the initial step, that would be what would be required here. Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Waldridge.
So with the conference moving to online, virtual, what is the cost for the conference virtually, and what would be the difference of it? I know that most conferences are still being charged a certain amount. So what is the cost in that? And is that still going to be able to cover both of those if we did do that? Or are you trying to cut out one to suffice 30 people?
Good question, Commissioner. Sorry, I should have mentioned that, and I meant to. The cost of the National Trust Training Conference is only $110 now. Previously, to send one of our staff members all the way to, I believe it was Texas, is where it was going to be this year. Of course, it was going to be $5,000. So we have a fund there essentially that we have no use for currently, and I thought this would be a good way to expand upon that training for everyone and provide a broader impact for our staff and others to take advantage of this and use a virtual option that has just been created through this program. So.
All right. Any other comments?
I think it's a good idea, Mayor. Hopefully we can keep Robert Barker over there at the sewer department for a long, long time, because I've been told that he knows where every sewer line that has been done in the last 50 years is. Some of them go back further than 50 years, however, but the city staff in a lot of different departments, as Commissioner Westman has noted, need to become more aware of where things are so that we don't dig. We just had our parks director talk about the pipes that were out there in the West Frankfort Capitol View Park. And they discovered things that they didn't know. We also have Hayden Station out there at Capitol View Park, which was the second settlement in Frankfort. It goes back to the 1760s, and we need a marker for that. We need a historic marker from the Kentucky Historical Society for that. But anyway, that's the reason. The sensitivity to this city commission, this city staff needs to be enhanced. And I think this type of meeting would go a long way towards it. Thank you.
Any others? Commissioner Waldridge.
Do you already have that written up or is this just something you're bringing up now? I didn't receive anything in my pamphlet, or in my stack.
I had an altered proposal that come in over the weekend that I was working with a consultant. I'll forward it to you and city manager, the most up to date, and everyone.
I'd like to see that before I took a vote, just to make sure it's worded the way we want it and stuff, but I'd
Well,
like to see.
The vote wouldn't be to do this specifically, Commissioner. It would be to see if the certified local government program would allow us to amend our grant award to even host this. So then we could get back and adjust if we engage with consultants to provide the camp training.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I replied back to when you'd sent your email, I did reply back and asking what other things we could do, because sometimes it is hard to get things changed over once they're already submitted one way. So I did speak about that. But if it's going to be brought to us, I just want to see it in writing once we get that. If we can get it changed, it would be great.
And Mayor, I have another item that is related to this, but I understand we probably
let's dispose of your first motion. Are there any other discussion or questions for on the motion? If not, clerk, please call roll.
What is the motion?
Can the clerk please state the motion, please?
The motion is to direct staff to inquire the Heritage Council regarding the CLG grant to move, can't read my own writing, on the previous grant action and request to be able to move the funds for the community.
All right.
And that's probably not exactly verbatim.
No, that was pretty good. It helped fill in where I left out. So I was writing it, but that helped fill in a couple of places I had. So no, you're fine. Thank you. And I say yes.
Any other questions? All right. Now, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge, you already said yes. Commissioner Tippett?
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer?
Yes.
Mayor May?
Yes, that's adopted. All right, Commissioner Wiseman, you said you have further on.
Yes, Mayor. Secondly, again, we had 2 awards by the CLG program last year. There were some additional funds at the end of the year that we were able to make a second application. As I stated already, we had applied to bring in Mr. Yap to do a window preservation workshop, as we have done in the city before. That event had to be canceled for April for COVID, and then again for next month. And with the plans, staff currently planning to do that workshop potentially in April of next year. My understanding is there will be additional CLG granting opportunities that could be our application for next year's fund. And that instead we might go ahead and take some action with the current fund to tackle another project that might be beneficial to the community. So over the weekend, my nonprofit organized a cemetery workshop, free workshop at Green Hill Cemetery. And it's been a thought of mine for some time that in our current climate, that the area around Green Hill Cemetery was, from what I can gather, there's very limited information, essentially a free town after a Civil War. It was an African-American settlement, and that is why the cemetery was established in 1865 there, and why the church is still there. But there's very little known about that community development and what history is encased in that area. So I thought it would behoove us to, instead of doing the window workshop or committing those funds to the workshop that we've had to cancel for the entirety of the year, that we might look at surveying the historic resources in Green Hill area proper. So we might better evaluate the history and the structures. We just had a small house torn down there recently that was never given a second thought. But there is a lot of unknown history that I believe discovering would benefit our community quite a lot. Frankfort was a safe haven after the Civil War for African Americans to come to the capital city, where there were federal officers, frankly, here guarded with protecting safety and our community. And there's a lot of that history that is unknown. So I would like to make the same motion, essentially, that we request of I make a motion that we request of the Kentucky Heritage Council to authorize the purposing of the $11,000 grant award that we were given previously to undertake historic survey work of the Green Hill neighborhood and to engage with the traditional RFP process for a consultant to undertake that work.
Second.
Question, Mayor, question for Commissioner Wiseman.
Let me do one thing. Motion by Commissioner Wiseman, second by Commissioner Sauer. All right, Commissioner Tippett.
I've been told reliably, Commissioner, that African-American Union soldiers are interred there, which I guess portends massive federal regulations. Do we have any idea as to what those regulations would be? And you, sir, are the preservationist. I am just sort of the lover of history. How would we make sure that we afford the kinds of protections for such a sacred site?
Well, Commissioner, this would be exactly what this process would establish, a baseline of understanding for future actions, for creating the survey of what exists currently on the ground and maybe what existed historically. Specifically, the cemetery and the church are really the two longest lasting elements of history in the area, but there are, I can confirm, I've worked on some grave sites just over the weekend, in fact, of Civil War soldiers, African-American Civil War soldiers. But this would provide, the survey would provide the baseline to inform the city on future protections, future activity, future impacts. We currently just, in a way, don't know what exists in the area, not just at the cemetery, but beyond, obviously, to protect it as appropriate or provide other appropriate treatments. One great example is that the city, the city technically owns the cemetery. We put in a new fence and a new stone retaining wall there a few years ago. Hopefully we didn't impact anything, but that might have been treated differently had we had done the survey work up front, and future activity like that might have to be treated differently to best protect the areas. And that at that time I was helping at our city museum when that stone or wall was replaced, and I was a little concerned about the action then. And I think this will just set the groundwork for future actions of the city on the cemetery, which again we own, and the larger neighborhood that was this Freetown establishment.
Commissioner Sauer.
Yes, Commissioner Wiseman, would some type of National Register designation be appropriate for the area?
Yes, and this would be the basis of doing that in the future, Commissioner.
All right, good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other questions? All right, if not, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes.
You missed Mr. May,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but yes. Thank you all.
All right. The city clerk, did Commissioner Waldridge get recorded as a yay or nay?
I got her as a yes.
Or say here?
I actually said yes.
Came across as here.
YES. Yes, I said yes for that.
It didn't come across. Just want to make sure everybody get recorded. Pardon me?
Some interference on my end. It's making it difficult to hear everyone too.
Yeah.
There is some interference, Mayor. Mayor, may I? I think somebody's microphone is on. I think that's causing some disturbance in the audio.
Okay. There we go. All righty. Any member wish to change or explain their vote? All right. I think we got everybody. Let's see. Next item, Commissioner Wiseman, did you have any more on item number 15?
No, Mayor, that was all. Thank you.
Okay. Next item would be item number 16, city investments. And we have Ms. Boyd on screen now. She can answer any questions that commissioners may have. Commissioner Westman, will you okay.
Mayor, if I may, yeah. Ms. Boyd, I had sent you a request recently, concerned about some financial actions and some processes that we had reviewed last year and began that had never never developed into fruition yet. Our previous finance director had made a recommendation to us to review our current accounts and our current investments. You sent us sent me at least a listing of all of our current accounts. Many of them are CDs, money market accounts, checking accounts, flux accounts, numbering almost 50, I believe. So the first part was to ask maybe that we task you to begin critically reviewing our investments in light of COVID. And generally the city's position that we can better evaluate and then change some financials around to maximize our revenues, if you will. And if you had any thoughts, putting on the spot a little bit on that, and maybe a time frame that we could potentially have something brought back to this commission, whether next meeting or a month.
Well, I will definitely agree that we have a lot of accounts. As a matter of fact, we have 74 different bank and or investment accounts. We do business with 9 different banks. And so 43 of the 74 are investment accounts and the other 31 are bank accounts. So it is a lot to keep up with. That's definitely the truth. So I have kind of been looking at a bunch of different things here. First of all, and please, someone, maybe Mayor May, if you don't mind, correct me if I'm wrong. The investment policy for the city is from 1994, and I don't think it's been updated since then. If someone can correct me on that. I received this copy from a couple of the gentlemen that I've been working with Community Trust and Investments. They had a copy and provided this to me, and they were unaware of it being updated. So I think the investment policy should be updated. And the reason why I say that is because KRS 66480, which is the Kentucky Revised Statute that dictates how the city should what the city should invest in and how they should go about, or local governments, I should say. It was actually amended in 2019 during the regular session, the 2019 General Assembly's regular session. So it allows for a little more broader opportunity to invest in some things that previously the city may not have been able to. Because currently right now, aside from really the police and firefighter pension investment, we really only invest in government obligations and in, like money market, CDs, that kind of thing. So we could branch out a little if that's what we would choose to do. But we would need to update our policy because correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor May, but what a city could do is be more restrictive than a Kentucky Revised Statute, but you just can't be more general than a Kentucky Revised Statute. So I would recommend that we at least update our policy to reflect that, and then we can go from there on how we would want to go about maybe combining some of these investments and doing a few things like that. I don't know how much of your question I answered, Commissioner Westman. But I do believe that we could, there's some opportunity here to combine some investments for sure, and maybe even get a better return on our investment by branching out and doing a few different things. So.
And to answer your question, Ms. Boyd, I'm not aware of any updates since 1994.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Commissioner Tippett.
As I understand it, and I think you were saying it, Ms. Boyd, the city can only invest in fixed financial instruments. Is this correct?
Well,
We can't expose tax money to the stock market or equities, can we? Not, I mean,
Well, there has been some change to the KRS. Of course, like I said, it does appear as though individual equity securities can be invested in. I think a lot of it is the amount that you'd want to go. I know there's some limitations on percentages of how much something you may be able to invest in, but it did branch out some. What I can do, sir, if you don't mind, I don't want to speak out of turn on any of this because I've looked at the KRS, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not an investments expert. I hope to become one after I go through some of this. But so what I can do is maybe tomorrow I'll be happy to send an email out to everyone letting you know what the KRS says we could invest in. Just looking at it briefly, it has been updated and there are some things that we can invest in that we currently could not previously prior to 2019. So. Yeah, and it even talks about individual high quality corporate bonds. So there are some other things we can branch out and invest in now.
Also on that, in subsection 8 and 9, it allows the state local debt officer, which is a position in the Department for Local Government, to assist city and county, well, municipals and counties, local governments, and also to set up an investment pool, which can be combined with other groups. So some different options. So Ms. Boyd, thanks for that research. Somebody had their hand up.
Yeah. Mayor.
All right.
Thank you. Ms. Boyd, did I understand you correctly to say we had 72 different accounts?
We have, yes, sir. 74. We have 74 either bank accounts or investment accounts. Of that amount, approximately 62.9 million is in investments. That's sewer, general, and other. And then we have approximately $8.1 million in cash as well. That's all of it. And some of that cash clearly is restricted, like say the Fort Hill bank account, or I'm just trying to think of something like the capital improvements bank account or the municipal aid bank account. E911's restricted. So even though we have that amount in cash, it's not all just cash we can, spend unrestricted. It's going to be restricted cash as well. So, yeah.
Speaking of the different banks we have holdings in, are any of those banks out of town, outside Franklin County?
Well,
I'd be interested in that. Just the names of the banks, if there are any.
All of the bank. Well, I tell you what, we do have one bank that we are required to use because of the 2007, 2010, and 2013 bond issue with the sewer fund. But other than that, the other eight banks all have local branches in Frankfort, I think, as far as I know. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if that's not correct, sir, I will let you all know, but I think all of our banks have a branch office in Frankfort.
Just a quick question about rate of return. Do we get reports on, how much our all fixed instruments are paying? And does that guide the decision as to where do we put our monies? Do we only put monies in local banks? I mean, in other words, if there were better rates somewhere else, would that have to come to the board for us to make some sort of decision on a policy decision?
Well, currently our city policy, which has not, like we said, been updated since 1994, it actually only allows, and I apologize, I'm kind of looking at it while I'm talking. It only allows for us to invest in obligations of the United States and its agencies, instrumentalities, and also certificates of deposit. Now, we do have some CDs that are just individual CDs with some of the local banks, but we also have with a couple of the local banks what they call ICS accounts, and I'm gone blank on that acronym. But in essence, that's like a sweep account. And so what they're doing is they're sweeping that money out, and they're actually investing it. And I'm hoping I'm not misspeaking on this. They're investing it in various different CDs. And the reason why they do that is because each of these banks have $250,000 in FDIC insurance. And when you sweep that out and they attach it, they buy a CD in essence with it. And so we have a ton of different CDs at a ton of different banks that are not necessarily Kentucky banks, but our bank that's handling that for us is a Frankfort bank. We have two of the banks I know of do that. And they do it because, if you have a lot of money sitting there, that kind of diversifies it a little, and it's not risky because it's below the FDIC amount that a bank would require, you have on a individual bank account. So we do have those, and they all vary, sir, Commissioner Tippett, in different interest rates. We have some that are below 1%. We have our one that's 4.7%. I believe, Commissioner Wissman, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the one that I think had the highest rate. It was 4.7%, but it was a really long-term CD.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you're right. And that also can be in the money market fund. It's insured
correct.
cash.
Yes, we have, because money markets are kind of like a checking account for the most part, or a savings account, I should say. So we have money market accounts. Like I said, we have savings accounts, we have checking accounts, we have CDs. Really, our only true, what I would consider investment account, even though Commissioner Westman, I sent you all that information, that police and firefighters investment is the one that's really the most diversified. It's actually diversified in equities and things of that nature. But the other ones are mainly obligations of the government and CDs.
So you are right. That 4.7, which is our best producing investment right now, was 180 months.
Correct.
And the firefighter fund is diversified 1.85 to 3.4%, respectively.
Correct.
Commissioner Sauer.
Yes, Ms. Boyd, just to get back to, I know you're experienced with state government. And as you well know, the Kentucky Department of the Treasurer's Office writes a whole lot of checks, And I don't know the term, every 2 or 3 years, they bid out that account to other banks in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So they might, if we're going to be bidding, that they might be a resource for you to see what criteria the Kentucky Department of Treasury uses.
Yes, that's a very good advice, and I'll definitely take that. I believe, and I'm going to ask Shermay, she and I discussed this, Miss Maxwell and I discussed this the other day. So there was a RFP in 2017, and it was for the general fund bank account, and I believe the payroll account, but that's the last RFP that I'm aware of, I'm happy to put out an RFP, do whatever you guys direct me to do, come back with some additional research. I do have some opinions about maybe combining some of the various accounts. Just whatever, if you'd like for me to come back with some additional information or a presentation, whatever you need me to do, I'm happy to do that. If you want to send me additional questions, I'm happy to answer any of those, and I can get you the information that I'm able to provide you.
Mayor for me.
Commissioner Wissman.
Yeah, this is sort of predicated on some previous discussions, and I thought we needed to take a really critical look at our investments. Previously, this body had directed our former finance director to make some recommendations, bring those back to us as a body to consider our investment portfolio, if you will, and to potentially make some directive. Back in March, $8.1 million of city funds were moved to a bank, to traditional bank, without an RFP process and without any consultation with the commission, and in the absence of a finance director, which I've felt was very troubling, not a good precedent, and something I thought we needed to revisit immediately. But more so to revisit that fund being moved and looking at the rest of our funds. I think it's a good idea as a community, generally as a city government, to diversify our investments and kind of spread those across the banks in our community, to help all of them. But I think 74 accounts is just cumbersome for you to manage, and we need to look at the best rates of return, potentially looking at larger investments over longer periods of time in all of our banks and consolidating some of these accounts. So I was hoping that we might take advantage before the Treasury changes any aspects, and look at some investments and some rates of return and where we can maximize our benefit without, obviously, as we voted tonight, increasing taxes. And instead, we've lowered community taxes overall. That we need to be on top of those rates of return and maximizing those. And I think there's potential with that, as I've hoped for the last year we would have discussed, that 2019 amendment to the KRS, that we might look at something specifically like a portion of our rainy day fund, investing in a new fund that we're allowed now to access that we weren't previously, that might generate some much higher yields for us, and be a good use of those funds, rather than them sitting in a CD drawing less than 2% or something like that. So I have sort of on my own established a bit of an advisory committee to myself, of some financial professionals in the community that I have circulated this investment listing to for some thoughts and review. And I'm hoping that we can, Ms. Boyd and I, and anyone else obviously that would like to speak with Ms. Boyd, review these more critically and see where we may generate better returns for the community. But again, the most concerning thing was $8.1 million of city funds were moved to traditional bank, although I don't think they had anything to do with that directly, without this commission ever reviewing it. And I think we need to take and all commissions, considering the climate we're in, need to take a more active role in reviewing our financials. And Ms. Boyd, I look forward to working with you more on this. And thank you for the information that you provided.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Waldridge.
I just wanted to clarify that Mr. Commissioner Wisman had said that we were not aware of this 8.1 being moved over to traditional bank and things of that nature. And I just want to clarify for the record and for our community that's watching that we were clarified. That was very clear for us from December 2019 to March 2020. I'm not sure if you received those emails. I did. So there's emails and discussion. That decision was made when Jennifer was here. And if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Sauer actually replied, "Great job" about it. And so that decision was made. And then when Jennifer left, city manager at the time, Mr. Parker, then went on and pushed it through. So I don't think that it was just a Mr. Parker thing. So I wanted to clear that up. That is in all of our emails. If you have not received that, let us know so we can maybe forward that back to you. But you were on that email. And at that time, I want to say that Commissioner Sauer said great job in response on that with Mr. Parker. So I just wanted to clear that up. That wasn't something Mr. Parker did. We all have that information in our email. And that was something that happened when Jennifer was here. So I just wanted to clear that up. So that's all.
Mayor, if I may, I've had staff pull the records, and there was only one email notifying the city commission that action was taken in March of 2019. As I've already mentioned, there was a directive from this body for those actions to be brought back to us to consider. And that was my comment, that we were not given that opportunity as a body to consider those investments. And I think it sets a poor precedent, and we need to create a better policy in the future for cities' funds, where they go and how they're done. There was not an official RFP issued. From my understanding, there was just some phone calls made to select banks asking for rate of return. I don't know any otherwise, and how that was chosen. And I just think that is not the way we need to be doing business, frankly. So, and hopefully in the future, we can now revisit these financials and make better investments choices as a body with our finance director in tow.
All right. And I think, Ms. Boyd, thank you. We can review that 1994 investment policy to see if there's anything that needs to be tightened up on that, clarified, or amended. So I guess we can have our finance director and city manager and city attorney review that document, and then we can have a discussion if it needs to be something that should be in any way updated or changed or rewritten.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I have actually already started kind of putting my thoughts to paper on where that might need to be amended. And I will be happy to share that with Mr. Russell and Ms. Ross.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
We had actually.
I'm sorry, sir.
So I thought you probably had actually, since we had a conversation not long ago about how many accounts. Thank you for your great work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, next item, tree board member requirements. I'd ask this to be looked at. Currently, our tree board membership requirements are listed in city statute, ordinance rather, and other boards don't have a residency requirement. So I was just asking if that we follow up and make one change to allow that one section to be deleted, removed, it so we could find qualified people any place within not just the city limits, but in the county. It'll open up our opportunity for more people to participate. And currently other boards don't have a restriction on that.
Do we need a motion and a second for discussion, Mayor?
No, it's fine. It's just, the city attorney's actually got a draft ordinance change, but we didn't put it on as I don't think we can do a first reading tonight.
You're muted, Laura.
Well, she's not muted. Something's wrong with her connection. We cannot hear you, Ms. Ross. Nope. I can read your lips. You said, "Hey, Matt." And even though I can't say I can read his lips too, said, "Laura, I don't know. I don't know what you've done. You've done something to it, Laura. I don't know why you keep doing that to my computer." That's what I hear him saying. I don't know if he is. I'm just teasing. He's not saying that, folks. He's not saying that. Sorry, Matt.
Mayor, if I may, I would agree with you. You know, we had specifically on the tree board a very dedicated individual who I just saw Saturday, in fact, and was talking with him about this, that moved just over the city line and had to resign from the board that he was dedicated to for years. I think we get caught up in those boundaries occasionally, and it hurts us when we have dedicated and knowledgeable individuals who live in our community proper that they can't serve. So I support you making this amendment.
Okay, we're going to let Ms. Ross, she's going to exit and then re-enter the meeting, and hopefully that'll clear up any concerns. Because the question is, since it wasn't listed as a first reading, whether or not we should count it as a first reading. It does say tree board member requirements, but I just want to make sure that we are in full compliance, since this is a special call meeting and it's a video meeting, which puts more restrictions. Just waiting for her to get back on.
No, just, Mayor,
Oh, Commissioner
I
Walker.
just wanted to add, by you saying that there's a lot of restrictions, with the AG's rules and regulations, we can cut out a lot of those restrictions if we follow through with what the AG has put forth and allow Mondays at 5 o'clock, our regular meeting times, continue to be true meetings where it can be a more lenient planning, I guess, for this to have maybe old business and news business and be able to change things. And then once again, I think that we should start moving a little bit more toward that, so we're not stuck in situations like this, especially on our particular meeting days. I get it, when we have special meetings, we would need to stay close to that. But if we follow the AG rules, it does allow us to be a little bit more lenient in decisions.
As a reminder too, our emergency management staff have looked at a lot of that, and part of this is for COVID restrictions to be cautious. Well, we can go into, well, we have to have Ms. Ross to go into the closed session, so we just really need to stand by for a minute, if y'all don't mind.
We'll be right back, I'm sure.
Okay, this is a question to our IT staff. Bobby Rippey, are you helping?
Yes.
There she is.
All right, she's back.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, great. I have no idea what I was saying. Sorry, Mayor.
That's okay. No, your mic was showing that you were on. It's just not coming through. So the question was, since it wasn't specifically listed as a first reading on an item, it just says tree board member requirements.
I believe, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. We should wait at the next meeting.
You can definitely choose to do it that way. Otherwise, it would require a motion and vote to go ahead and have the first reading. So I think it's probably easier and a little more clear under the law to wait till the work session or next voting meeting.
Sure. Okay. But if we were to do it tonight,
you could.
We could. If commissioners, the thing, I don't like to give commissioners items that they haven't seen first. I don't know if did they all get a copy of that?
They did on Friday.
They did get a copy. Okay. So I will leave that up to the commission. And if you want to give it a first reading, we can, and then we can adopt it on October the 12th. And I can put the board appointment on for that evening, or we can come back.
Mayor, we need 3 votes for a directive to make it a first reading. Is that what you're saying?
Right, but if Ms. Ross is a little bit nervous about it, let's don't.
Let's wait then. Let's wait.
I'll tell you what, I'll just make a ruling. Let's just wait, and then we'll take any guesswork out of it. That way, somebody can't say we didn't put a 12-point type period at the end of a sentence. That seems to be on people's minds right now. So we'll make sure that we go actually above and beyond, as we always have tried to do. I will say that. Next item would be to go into, so we can just say the next meeting on the 12th, unless we call a special meeting beforehand. We'll definitely have that on as it'll either be a first reading or a second reading on October the 12th. And we'll follow up. All right.
Mayor, if we're ready to move into executive session, I'll read and make the motion.
We are.
All right. I move that we go into executive session per KRS 61.8.810, subsection 1, subsection B, deliberations on future acquisition of sale of real property related to economic development, a new fire station, and public infrastructure where publicity would likely affect the value of the property.
Motion by Commissioner Wisman.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sauer. And one quick clarification, our IT staff was asking, when we come back out of this executive session, we're going to adjourn immediately after that, since we've concluded all our business, unless any member needs to go back to address any item that was on the agenda. So we could actually say that when we go back into close executive session, go back into open session, that we'll immediately adjourn if that's an agreement that.
Unless our staff needs us to make a formal directive, Mayor, by vote for anything in closed session, I'm not sure.
Okay, that's true. So we'll say probably won't need to do anything, but always leave that option open. Our intent would be not to conduct or to go back into any portion of the agenda. All right, any discussion? All right, clerk, please call roll.
Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Charmaine, you're going in and out.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes. We have unanimity.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I vote yes.
Mayor May.
All those opposed, like sign. All right, ayes have it. We're in executive session.
I was not moving to that. I was wanting to mention something in regards to earlier. I was looking through my emails to finally find the email that went back just to give dates so everyone can go back for that verbiage, which was, that email was dated 3/4/20 at 3:44. The email that I'm referring to, so everyone can go back, it was addressed on 3/4/20 to Commissioners Angela DeSpinett, Laura Ross, and Shermaine Maxwell. And it said the subject was the sewer investments. And it said prior to Jennifer Jenkins' departure, we had started to discuss a lot, consolidating some of the maturing sewer department investments. We reached out to get several quotes if we move from our local banks to see what they could offer if we moved our investments to them. Traditional bank offered a very aggressive interest rate equal to the Fed funds rate, while the other banks offered the Fed funds rates minus X points. After speaking with Kenny and Angie, we decided to move around $8 million of recently matured CDARS investments to a traditional bank. Please see the benefits below for this city. 1, a consolidated multiple accounts into one account. We currently have over 70 banking accounts. 2, maximize our interest while we wait for a new finance director to provide guidance on future investment strategies. And 3, develop a strategy with a bank that will offer high returns on cash accounts that we are readily accessible. This is simply moving a free cash to a bank where it will make more money while we decide on our next step as an investment. Please reach out if you have any concerns. From then, John Sauer replied on Thursday the 5th, good move, thank you, JRS. And Keith then responded back to and said next Tuesday to Angela, okay, next Tuesday, please move the money from Whitaker to traditional described below. I am waiting Tuesday in case there comes up Mondays in the commission meeting and they want something else different. And that right there was some of the dialogue that went back and forth in regards to that email. So it was not that we were completely in the dark or anything. It was out there for us to see, for us to read in our emails, was just to move that money over. And it was all dated literally back and forth of what that says. So if you do not have that, I will forward my emails on in case it's got deleted. I know I've had email issues, but just wanted to share that so everyone is aware that those emails were out there. It was not that we did not know.
Okay, next item of business is adjournment.
Move to adjourn, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Wiseman,
Second.
second second by Commissioner Waldron. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Mr. Wisman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all.